Stages of progress from Silence Speaks. Rebirth. It is true that one who dies must ordinarily be reborn, but this does not hold good in the case of highly developed souls of saints and prophets, because what apparently appears to be their physical death is not death in the true sense of the word. It is only a transformation of their existence from the grosser to the subtler level. So their return to the grosser material form is then out of question. They have already passed through the stage of death in its usual sense as the end of a particular type of material form, bringing into effect the negation of self, which in other words means freedom from the effect of materiality in which a man is deeply engrossed. The result is that while having their physical body intact, they begin to feel dead and gone. This is a particular type of spiritual state which may be attained after sufficient progress. This is known as the state of Bijdag. They do not die in the literal sense. Consequently, the question of rebirth does not arise at all in their case. Anything to add, sir?
A lot of things to add, but let other people contribute what they think about this.
Okay.
What do you mean by Bijdag?
That's what I'm thinking. So one is anything that they do, so that might be even earlier. It does not cause the impressions. That is one thing. But the other thing,
It
what
does not cause impressions. Babuji says if you do it with the idea that you are serving the master or dedicating every act to the master, will not cause impressions. So even in this present life, suppose I am reading this and you are reading and you feel that this voice, your larynx is contributing to this voice or speaking of Babuji's words, that effort, I am dedicating it to the master, means it will not cause any samskara. So how in that way this can happen to, at present also we can do actions which will not cause samskara.
then this Bijdak, the way I'm understanding is that then you are not aware about your existence, or self is not there. So one is a self as a physical body.
What is the bij he is talking of? Bij means seed, no?
Is he referring to bejas in the causal body, which essentially have are the root cause of all samskaras, and that is destroyed, so there is no samskaras.
There will be millions of samskaras. So how can, that means millions of seeds have to be burnt? What is the meaning?
When the ego disappears, then
billions of samskaras are there, no? Every thought, action you do consciously or unconsciously forms an impression. Is it a singular or a plural?
The plurality disappears because of disappearance of ego.
When he uses the word bij, is it a plural or a singular?
That's a good question.
Singular.
Okay, singular. So obviously it does not mean that all the samskaras that will not gel with this idea, no?
Fair.
So what else?
Is it the identity that he is talking about?
Identity, several identities, no? I am a doctor, I am a male person, I am a Hindu, I am an Indian. All these are identities, several identities are there. You have multiple identities in your own mind. You are a Gujarati and then you are a Patel and then whatnot, you are a, or you are a Shah, that's an identity. Or you're a BJP man, that's an identity. Or, congressman, that's an identity. Or a Muslim, you're a birded fellow, that's an identity. So identities are several.
But that is more with respect to the physical world, right?
So what do you mean? Identity means what? How do you identify yourself? How do you identify yourself as a Gujarati person or an employee of Credit Suisse?
Identifying with the soul?
Identifying with the soul means you become infinite. There is no question of identity disappears at that time. You have become God yourself. You have become Layavastha happens. Samadhi has happened. You are liberated already.
Mm-hmm. What is the meaning of Dagd?
Huh?
Dagda, beach Dagda, right? So
Dagd is burnt, no? Burning. So what actually it means is, you see, yoga actually, the yogi is interested in not so much in enjoying pleasurable things, but in trying to avoid future misery. So for yogi, even a pleasure is treated as a source of pain for him. So the suffering due to these Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, Adhyatmika causes, suffering due to diseases, suffering due to old age, suffering due to death, suffering due to the process of birth, suffering due to what you feel is your property. That means you got a name as a professor or whatever, or you got a lot of wealth. And then that can be taken away from you because you worked so hard, you earn a lot of property. That property may become worthless if a recession comes. So, so that is also a cause of suffering. So the sources of suffering are all pervasive. So yogi tries to aim for a state of mind or state of life where he is totally liberated from suffering. The idea is liberated from suffering. So if you want, that is what is the aim. That's why when we say that, oh Master, thou art the real goal of human life, we have a fairly good concept that Master is of balance, Master is infinity, Master is tranquility and peace which cannot be disturbed. It's the nature of bliss itself. So that concept we have, which is correct also. Like Babuji even says that plainness, simplicity and tranquility also will not exist there. It is such a balance. It's very difficult to put it in words. So all of us have some idea about what is the nature of goal. So but what is preventing us from achieving that union or preventing us from achieving that true freedom which nobody can snatch you away, true freedom from misery which nobody can, snatch it away from you. That is called liberation. So the cause is called avidya. Avidya is the actual beach, which is the mother of all the suffering. Mother of all the suffering is called avidya or ignorance. Or to put it in Babuji's, in his own words, he says, by an irony of fate, you have been snatched away from a homeland. Like you have come out from God. Like Sir famously said, you are all staying in the company of God. God has created the beautiful world. And then some people went out to see the beauty of the world. So they left the homeland out of their own choice. Sir, talks like that. So when you get out of the company of God, that is called avidya. That means you've been snatched away from a blissful state, which is a state of balance in God actually. So the avidya gives rise to what, that is the main seed actually, and that seed gives rise to what is called asmita, which is egoism. And egoism straight away gives rise to, you will start judging everything. Whatever perception occurs in your mind, immediately you'll say it is good or bad. Or you may be indifferent. Indifferent is also a wrong view, because everything is made up of God. You cannot be indifferent to God. You should have some feeling of reverence or some feeling of love for whatever has been created by God. Even indifference is also a wrong thing. So whenever ego is there, whenever any experience occurs in the form of a perception in the mind, you will judge it whether it is good or bad, and this thing, and that creates the network. And then that leads to abnivesha, which is again fear of death or all those things. So by the another classic definition is that the avidya, these are also called klesha vrittis. That means these thought patterns cause you pain. The thought pattern you have that you are separate from God is the root cause of suffering in the world. So that, for example, it is called nitya. Nitya is permanent, okay, eternal. And then shuchi, that means purity, pure thing. And what is called sukha, bliss. These are the qualities of yourself or the master inside you, or you can use the word purusha, or you can use atma or brahman, whatever. You can use the word shobh, or you can use the word zat, whatever. I mean, the core of your being is composed of atman, and that is of the nature of eternity, that is of the nature of purity, that is of the nature of bliss. Whereas this body-mind complex which you are having now is anitya. That means it is temporary. After some time, the atoms and all which is now holding together due to some force, that force, when it is withdrawn, the atoms crumble and we die and we go back into dust. So it is temporal thing. The other, it is impure. I mean, impure in the sense, if you don't take bath, and then, the body is composed of phlegm and bile, and then urine and stool, and then, joints, fluid. And if you remove the skin, if you see the muscles by it as it is, it's not a beautiful thing at all. It's impure. And if you don't take bath, you stink actually. And that's why when a person dies, we don't keep the body even for 1 minute extra. We immediately want to burn it, because it starts putrefying, and he may be your most lovable person, but you like to dispose him of as is there, because it's impure. The third thing is, it is the body and mind are the causes of suffering. Actually, suffering is the reality. Suffering not in the sense that you're having severe headache or migraine, or you have some cancer pain and all that. It's not that. Any sense of satisfaction, if you have a desire to go on a holiday, and then if the desire is not met, and then you have certain projection in your mind that you'll have such and such an experience in the holiday, and if that experience is not met, that dissatisfaction is also a kind of a suffering. So generally, every experience, if you carefully analyze, it amounts to a kind of a suffering. And of course, the pain and psychological suffering, if somebody blames you and says, no, you are all false disciples, you have brought bad name to your master. If somebody pass a comment to us, we'll get offended, and we'll get sad and depressed about it. And then we become angry, we'll try to take revenge on them and all that. So even a small word which is against your conception, your identity about yourself. Now you feel, all of us feel that we identify ourselves with Babuji Maharaj, and then somebody says you're all having bad habits, you're bringing, or if somebody criticizes us, we become angry. So that is also a suffering. So suffering can be numerous. So thinking what is nitya, what is eternal, pure and happy, we think the body is pure, we think the body is eternal, we think that body can give you happiness. So this wrong view is called avidya. So in meditation, what we do, we try to, we go on the advice of our master whom we trust. He says it is what you are feeling is not true. I have known the truth, and it is of the nature of bliss. It is the nature of purity, and it is eternal. There is no such thing called death and all that. We believe him, and he says if you suppose that divine light is present in the heart, and then your mind is trying to rest on that object, then the object starts manifesting in your mind. And if you allow your mind to dwell on that object for a long time, what happens? This wrong view disappears, and then the beach dug happens. And when the beach dug happens, then you feel that you are not separate from God and you are liberated. Then you will be permanently separated from misery. As Lord Krishna talks in the 6th chapter, he says, dukkha viniyoga, that means completely dissected off. There will be separation of suffering from your mind itself. Its mind is no more capable of getting inflicted with misery. You may have physical pain and all that, but then that will not give rise to misery. They come and go, that's all. So that is the main purpose why we are doing yoga, is that only. I hope it's clear now what is beach that means. We did a seminar on this. Sir did a seminar on this. You can read, you can open that topic and read Sir's talk.
Okay. Let me.
Demolition of the past, I think. No, it's.
Yeah. So this is the demolition of the past.
In that, he uses the word beach that has to happen, he says. You can read it again. It's quite worthwhile, because he uses the word beach that has to happen, he says.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we'll read, we'll listen to the talk if possible.
Yeah. No, so then I will have Sir's voice, right?
You can put the audio.
Yeah.
The topic of the seminar is a sentence that follows another equally illuminating sentence in a message titled Craving of the Soul of the Master, that once divinity dawns, to the life goes far away. Many of us are aware that when a statement was made by an aspirant that we should learn how to die, Master retorted saying we should learn how to live. All life that we humans live is a life in the world of our own creation, and Master's appeal to us is to live in the world of divine creation after demolishing our own. Master affirms that one must go on reducing the activities, shaking off all the superfluities that have entered into his being for the purpose of shattering his individual network and assuming the purest state one has finally to acquire. For such a living, we should know the goal of life we should strive for. While talking about the goal as something that is beyond and beyond, Master says that it is a bit difficult to attain as due preparation is not there. The main problem first to be sorted out is what is it we are craving for. If our craving is for any other than the divine, it is not the soul that is seeking it, but the various sense or motor organs, along with the images that we have cultivated over a period of time, forming what is generally called as samskaras, or what Master calls our individual network. Even if we feel the inner urge of the soul for realization, the ego awareness, which is invariably found in any type of conscious state, stands in the path and tries to give a different alternative to seek for. Proper preparation thus is necessary by way of sadhana as prescribed. Master stated that to impart spirituality really takes no time for a guide of high caliber like my master. The time is mostly spent in effecting the making of the abhyasi. Further, he stated the difficulty arises when we link it with our own will or action, thinking it to be the result of our own efforts. We rejoice at success and feel aggrieved at failure merely for that reason. This is the only thing which serves to keep us in bondage. The absence of this egoistic feeling means the advent of real potent vigor. How can this be achieved? Only by linking the self with the great power of the divine. Doing so, we go on covering stage after stage and we get closer and closer to him. Master laments, it's a pity to find only a few persons trying to link themselves with the Supreme, not to speak of achieving complete negation. I would like to clarify that in our system, we always talk of the positive approach of reaching the Supreme and do not try to dwell more on the blemishes which promotes more dejection and depression. However, moving positively by attaching ourselves with the Master, we slowly but steadily get rid of the obstacles or blemishes in our character that form a barrier to achieve our cherished goal. Traditionally, in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sufism, many blemishes in a life tread on the path of spirituality, have been listed. Just for information, I provide a sample list of states we need to get rid of in our journey. The list can be enhanced. However, Master has saved us the task of attending to them individually, and many of them are removed through the purificatory process. 1. To be proud of one's spiritual state. 2. To show off. 3. Arrogance. 4. Envy. 5. Miserliness. 6. To be vengeful. 7. To be faithlessness. 8. To distort religion and tradition. 9. To deny the giver of gifts or to belittle the gifts. 10. To be dissatisfied and complain about one's state. 11. To cease to have hope for Master's mercy. 12. To be sure of Master's punishment. 13. To condone tyranny and help tyrants. 14. To speak against decent people. 15. To keep the heart attached to this world. 16. To keep wanting to be a leader. 17. To expect approval and compliments. 18. To fear criticism. 19. Not to be able to prevent oneself from wanting. 20. Instead of wishing to learn the truth, being an imitator. 21. To fawn over people for personal benefit. 22. To be happy about disasters that fall upon people, even our enemies. 23. To be a coward. 24. To be angry. 25. To be a tyrant. 26. Not to keep one's word. 27. To believe in bad luck. 28. To think unjustly about people. 29. To love one's property. 30. To be overly concerned with the world and the worldly. 31. To be ambitious. 32. To lead an irresponsible life. 33. To mix oneself into affairs that do not concern one. 34. To be undignified. 35. Not to keep the time of one's prayers due to laziness. 36. To be shameless. 37. To lament the loss of things. 38. To gossip. 39. To be stubborn. 40. To be an egoist. 41. To be a hypocrite. 42. To cheat. 43. To be brutish. 44. To be dishonorable in relations with women. 44. To be lustful. 46. Not to accept one's error and continue to insist on that. 47. To be afraid of poverty. 48. Not to believe in destiny or to talk about destiny. 49. To make oneself depressed. 50. To take pleasure in belittling others. 51. To be indiscriminately happy. 52. To be insincerely kind and fawning over rich people. 53. To be disdainful of the poor. 54. To boast and be proud of one's past. 55. To show off one's physical prowess. 56. To belittle others. 57. To like to talk long unnecessarily. 58. To be self-centered in conversation. 59. To forget about one's own shortcomings and be preoccupied with the shortcomings of others. 60. To exclude from one's heart the fear of God and the shame and sadness of one's state. 61. In distress to make excuses and to fall back on and encourage the weaknesses. 62. To decline to help in a struggle for Master's cause. 63. To pretend to be friends with one's enemy. 64. To cheat in one's work. 65. To set traps for others. 66. To identify with the world to the extent of forgetting Master. 67. To take pleasure in people's suffering. 68. Not to suffer because of one's mistakes. This list can go on increased. Each one of them requires some thinking by you. There can be any number like this. These are the blocks that form our soul. These are like thorns growing in a barren field and shows us the ugly attributes of the heart which surface and become visible during meditation and prayers. Tradition advises us to avoid them and beautify ourselves with the opposite of every one of these faults, and that is the basis of not only of all ethical codes but also most of the meditational practices in other systems. The process of identifying the blemishes individually and take up such practices as may help us eradicate them takes years and ages in any system other than Pranahuti aided Raj Yoga. More often, we tend to evaluate our condition based on bias. It is necessary to realize that walking the spiritual path is a very subtle process. It is not something to jump into naively. There are numerous side tracks which lead to a distorted, ego-centered version of spirituality. We can deceive ourselves into thinking we are developing spiritually, while in fact we are strengthening our egocentricity through spiritual techniques. Our duty is to pray, and it goes without saying that the prayer has to be acceptable to God. We need to have proper moral and ethical standard, because the prayer which pleases God and which brings us closest to Him is to be beautiful. Grandmaster insisted his students to develop better morality more than learning spirituality. Master, explaining the concept of molding of our lives to rouse feelings of love and piety in others, states beautifully, it is obvious that when a thing made of clay comes before us, we take a different view of it, and our liking for it increased in comparison to the mass of clay which it is made up of. Similarly, when a man approaches God after proper making of himself, he takes a different view of Him. This goes to explain that we should effect such a making of ourselves as may help us to become the cynosure of His eyes. Master summarized the process of how we accumulate grossness. The grossness went on increasing. Its resultant effects led to the development of further evils like passion, anger, lust, etc. In short, a complete conglomeration was formed. The retracing from it can now be effected only by the process of casting away all that he had taken in previously and by removing perversion of thought by fixing it firmly in the right direction. It may be seen the blemishes listed above are not of the category of instincts of drives. To solve the difficulties that arise due to the drives, Master has given us the two meditational processes on points A and B, but he left the three other obstacles like Moha, Ahankar and Lobha to be attended by the aspirants. These are to be tackled by strictly adhering to the spiritual principles enunciated in the 10 Commandments of the Master. The aspirants would only be fooling himself to think that he can make or has made actually progress in spirituality without full and complete compliance of the commandments of the Master. The entire problem we see arises mainly due to the fact that there is an awareness of our individual self, and Master says that the states of the I consciousness remain from the beginning to the end. As against working on each of the blemishes, he presents us his thesis that we should not attempt at annihilation of the I-ness, but develop a positive attachment to the divine. And when divinity dawns, the negative attachment is removed. It is only when the field is barren that thorns and thistles grow. But in a plain that is wetted with devotion and has the blessings of the Master, no such possibility would arise. It is a matter of serious consideration for the alleged jnanis and masters of the day whether the much talked about Vairagya is after all not a negative attachment. Every serious sadhaka therefore replaces it with the love for the Master, whereby positive feelings develop which is helpful for him and the society. The problem of I or ego in the spiritual field is well recognized, and every one of the great seers has prescribed some method or the other to eliminate the same. It is generally termed as the abolition of the ego or the abolition of the past. Ego is nothing but a bundle of samskaras, and none of them have any reality content. This leads to the problem of how much we negate our ego and what are its means. While experience of states of void is nothing new for the practicants of PAM, we know such states do not last long, and that is why we often seek recurring experiences of the same. In this context, it is necessary to note the distinction between a state and a station. Generally speaking, a state is a kind of temporary gift in terms of spiritual inspiration. It comes and goes after some time. It's an experience of joy, of God's nearness and grace or spiritual bliss which becomes permanent after practice. When it becomes a permanent experience or a lasting inspiration, it is known as a station which the seeker enjoys day and night, both during sleep and wakefulness. In the initial stages of the spiritual journey, this blessed experience comes and vanishes after some time and is called a state. But when it becomes lasting by practice, the seeker is never without it. He always keeps company with the Master and enjoys the pleasure of union with the Divine Beloved. It is then called the station. It is not out of place to also mention about two more spiritual concepts used by our Master, namely Fana and Baka. When this experience of joy, of satisfaction gets intensified through constant effort, the seeker's soul gets purified and starts merging in divine essence. This state is called laya or mergence in the knot or the condition. But when it is a state of complete annihilation of carnal self, absorption or intoxication in God, and the pilgrim is unable to participate in worldly affairs, he is made to pass into another state known as Fana al-Fana, forgetfulness of annihilation. It is a sort of oblivion of unconsciousness. This is the way of the past. This is the way the past gets demolished. But this condition is not allowed to stay for long in an aspirant in this system, because that is only half the task, or as the Master puts it, is a chapter in the spiritual path. Demolition obviously is not the purpose of creation of God. We need to realize the divine here and now, and that is the purpose of pursuing any spiritual path. This is the duty entrusted to us by the divine. That is the reason why Master states realization of our true nature is our primary duty. Since two negatives make one positive, the pilgrim at this stage regains his individuality as he was when he started the journey. The only difference is that in the beginning he was a self-conscious, but after having reposed in the Divine Being, he regains that sort of individuality which is God consciousness or absorption in God. This state is known as Baka, or living or subsisting with God. The same process is also explained by the Master through the concepts of Samipyata, Salokyata, Sarupyata, and Sayujyata. When the seeker, in the process of reducing the blemishes, also had identified himself with the divine attributes which he proposes to possess, he retains those superior qualities, and this is the process of warming up the conditions about which various methods and practices were given by the Master. Clutter in our home or workplace is equivalent to clutter in our mind. Fertile ground will not bear fruit without watering. A blank sheet of paper, a clean kitchen, an empty canvas are all clutterless invitations to create. In such a creative endeavor alone, spirituality shines. Spirituality in dustbin is not even good to hear. The mind needs to be cleansed thoroughly before any spiritual virtues develop. Such a purification of the mind is the first act of demolition of the past that we should strive to achieve. For this, the purificatory process and individual meditation session with the trainers are prescribed in our path. When we start emptying ourselves, the divine that is closely watching us, seated in the chambers of our heart, makes its presence felt by us more intimately, impelling us to clear more and more of the dirt and dust that we have accumulated. Whenever I meditate on the thoughts of the Master furnished in the diary of the ISRC for us, a spiritual spring from deep within wells up, and I find a solution for the ills of the world. True as of now, spiritual regeneration is at a very low key. Fear is one of the basic emotions and literally a nightmare for many. From fear of one's shadow to the fear from those unfortunate brethren who get dubbed as terrorists or extremists, there is a large spectrum of fear. Fear arises when there is a feeling of losing the ego of various shades. Also, whenever the identity of self is lost, there is fear. We are told very clearly that the whole problem of fear is consequent to our illusory identification with the body. It's a matter of common experience of aspirants in spiritual paths to have visions or shadows or images that are unknown and get afraid. Also, the aspirants get thoughts of death, including that of suicide, and these are all the tests that one goes through in the path to pass the criteria of undeterred determination as adumbrated in the third commandment of the Master. I share my thoughts as they arose during my meditations to the best of my capacity, and have striven hard to use the words to be exact and truthful, so as to help find a way to eradicate fear and hopelessness. There is nothing to dread in nature. It is only those who claim to have mastered it that are to be feared. When we follow the commandments and the meditation methods on points A and B specifically, we become aware of the changes in our thinking each day and help us overcome the fear of life. We also find fulfillment and gain meaning for our life when we follow the pathways clearly marked upon in the book Path of Grace. Fortune favored me, and my Master blessed me with an opportunity to interact with so many sincere souls, and I have gained much in spirituality from them, incidentally demolishing many of the outmoded and fairly insane methods parading as exercises in religion and spirituality. This has become possible by accepting the commandments and sadhana as given to us by the Master, which is all facts, simple and plain. Accepting the Master in all respects of our life and living as real human beings should, as advised by him, we have all chosen to a life that is happier and holier. Surely, we do still make a life of what is given to us, and new structures are being raised, but the structures have a solid foundation and a design that serves the world at large. In short, our windows are now more open and hence our hearts more healthy. When we say we are demolishing the past, we are in effect talking of getting rid of the binding samskaras and willfully choosing such thoughts and actions that work for the common good. All through our efforts are to demolish the self-oriented, self-restricted, closed universe and participate in the common effort of creating a new universe of spirituality. For this it is obvious we should make our life worthwhile. In reality, our life is directed by our inner thoughts springing from the divine, which are essentially promoters of global good. But he has also provided us a choice. The privilege of choice is only for the human beings, and no other form of life has that opportunity. We, though are left with a choice, tend to make the wrong ones and get into sufferings. To do His will is a simple way of winding around the roads of life, to reweave all of those loose ends of life's tapestry. This is the most natural thing to do, because each of us got re-embodied ideally for one thing and one thing only, and that is to dispel or get rid of our karma we have incurred in our earlier lives. We need to deal with these thoughts and deeds by casting them out of our life, so that we do not have to live in a lower phase of life again and again. By becoming evolved now, we secure permanently a stage of living in the divine plane. We can accomplish all this by accepting the Master as a senior partner in our life. Master has, by giving us graciously the natural path, tried to show us the best and easiest way to do these tasks that lie ahead for us, but it is up to us to decline or accept His partnership. If we accept and live according to the 10 Commandments, and in concert with the universal law of karma that has been decreed for all of mankind, animals and plant life alike, our life will be devoid of stress. We will be slowly demolishing the past and rebuilding the divine structure in us. Then and then only total dedication gains meaning. Surrender is too difficult to accomplish, as we need to surrender to the entire humanity to mature in that condition. But if we continue to live with our depressions and unforgiving heart among our fellow men, then our life will be lived in vain. The funniest part of this is, both of the above defects have extraordinary attraction that is capable of binding any person, ignoring laws of rationality and of spiritual life. Then again, at another time, we will need to come back and relive this adventure called life. Our Master gets himself firmly attached to us from the day of introduction into the PAM system of Raja Yoga. His presence, though not fully felt and appreciated, many of us have had a taste of wonderment and radiance of His light in the core of our hearts, and some of us are capable of dispensing the same among the mankind. We realize that true wisdom is within us, but helplessly watch the negative forces driving them away. It is true that the system of offering pranahuti for the sake of transformation was there from times immemorial. The wisdom of the sages of old was waiting to be reinstated, and this our Grand Master has done with perfection. Knowledge is seldom lost, yet during some periods of history, mankind refuses to utilize this energy, our own source of wisdom. Such was the fate of this country since Lord Krishna reached his heavenly abode. Humanity would owe it to the Master Sri Ramchandraji Maharaj of Fatehgarh to have brought back the light for our good. Truth everlasting is a product of the origin, and connection to that origin is the brick and mortar in our building the spiritual edifice, the dream of the Masters. The wisdom we seek to constructively demolish the past is harbored within us in what our Master has called the upper portion of our heart. We have to therefore seek within the chambers of our mind, for down deep within is to be found the Master's truth. Together with the wisdom our higher self yearns to impart, so that we may find the high road to life everlasting. Wisdom lives within our minds, planted there centuries ago, foreshadowing our future. We should learn to seek only the higher answers, sift out the truth as chaff is shifted from wheat, and use it wisely. It has been said that evil lurks in all the hearts. The secret is to learn to weigh also the amount of truth lying dormant within the heart, and have it outweigh the evil. When we are completely clear, there is no subjective distortion. When we are completely pure, there is true perception. When the wind and waves have died out, the ocean of mind is as it is. When we get to the bottom of the ocean of mind, for the first time we see the peerless pearls. Poetically it was stated, they have seen the black pearl. The demolition of the samskaras is no mean task, and we need to be consciously striving for the same, all the while realizing the essential and irrevocable connection with the divine we have. Then a meaningful plan of life emerges that is challenging and also exhausting. we can change our life and make it happy. We already stated that this is accomplished with the use of basic universal laws. One must have a pattern for one's life, a map guiding us, giving us direction, indicating what we must accomplish. Such a map leads us along the path to fulfill our destiny. We must understand also that we are but energy created in the image of God. It is His energy that He has given to us that makes us the individuals we are. We have to believe completely the system advocated by the Master and practice the same with the unflinching faith and trust in the Master. Comparing his system with supposedly similar concepts, he is only playing to the hands of cunning and wily mind, ever interested in continuing its own creation, the great illusion. We have our imaginations of what reality is, and we have also the imperience. When the fact of our imperience does not tally with our notions of reality, it is wisdom to give up those notions and not deny the fact of our experience, of our imperience. To think otherwise is perverse logic. I am pained to note many persons who have access to higher regions provided by the Master do not live in that condition because their mind behaves as such, and they entertain ideas contrary to spiritual discipline of a single pointed orientation to the Master, and believe and practice methods totally unsuited to the system of spirituality they are in. Surely one should try the system and come to a conclusion, but trial runs of an automobile cannot be for the lifetime of the vehicle. That is why Master asks us to destroy our individual creation so that divine creation displays itself. Then we see changes taking place. These changes give us more respect for us. The people around us begin to see the transformed person that we have become, the person of substance, the individual who knows where he is going and what he is doing. A new aura of success appears around us, and soon, because of this positive attitude and the faith we have in us and the Master, wonderful things come into being for us. But for this to happen, we need to practice, and the old adage holds true: practice makes perfect. Morning until night, from waking time to sleep time, practice, unpractice, constant remembrance. Everyone has moments of depression when he loses self-confidence in himself, in what he is doing. Then he needs to retrace his steps and return to the first positive thoughts and assertions. Prayer, which reminds us of the goal, grants us back the power and the strength to accomplish the goal of human life. The demolition of our past has several stages, as already hinted. In the book Path of Grace, we have looked at the same process in a positive way as to how the aspirant moves into the higher and higher regions progressively. In a sense, we looked at this problem of demolition of our structure as removal of influence of layers of consciousness when we studied the nature of the five courses as encountered in our spiritual journey. Here we are looking at the same process from the angle of demolition of the illusion of ego. They are all minor annihilations of the ego structures we have developed out of nothing. When we arrive at the first stage, we experience our first load shedding, if we may call it so. We are temporarily lost to our limited individuality and experience bliss. Many confuse that they have realized self or God and hence get stuck in the first plane. If we keep ourselves free from self-delusion or come to realize that our attainment is but a transitional phase, we advance further on the spiritual path and arrive at the second plane. The merging in the second plane into the second plane is called the annihilation of the false. The aspirant is now absorbed in bliss and infinite light. Now, my next sentences are repeated actually, but my main point is people tend to be very, very casual and they think they have attained the highest state of bliss and confuse the earlier states of bliss with the ultimate. This is one of the common defects I have seen with the Abhyajis. They are very, very happy with what they have got. And sometimes they even stop their sadhana. Sometimes they have got excursions elsewhere. The merging into the second plane is called the annihilation of the false. The aspirant is now absorbed in bliss and infinite light. Some think that they have attained the goal and get stranded in the second plane, but others who keep themselves free from self-delusion march onward and enter into the third plane. The merging into the third plane is called the annihilation of the apparent. Here the aspirant loses all consciousness of his body and his world. In our system, we do not go through the coma state at all, consciously, and the helping hand of the Master keeps us conscious all through, and here our Vairagya gets fulfilled. Here the awareness of the universal presence of the Divine is felt very acutely, and the intimacy with it leads to the ecstatic states of temporarily. The next structure to fall is the individuality, and is a first encounter with freedom or Swarajya. The aspirant experiences a peculiar state of consciousness that seems to have all the power. Master at this stage protects us totally by making us oblivious of our capacity and thereby avoiding any fall in our state. The aspirant is never spiritually safe, and his reversion is always possible until he has successfully crossed the fourth plane and arrived at the fifth one. There is no way that we can think of in the modern world to demolish these structures without the help of our Master. Those of the persons who seek to simultaneously ride several horses may kindly note that one day or the other, in one life or another, they have to come to the path of the Master in toto. The merging into the fifth plane is a state of annihilation of all desires. Here the incessant activity of the lower intellect comes to a standstill. Master tries to explain this by the process of invertendo and reversal of sides of the higher and the lower types of mind. The seeker does not think in the ordinary way and is indirectly a source of many inspiring thoughts. He sees, but not with the physical eyes. Mind speaks with the mind, and there is neither worry nor doubt. He is now spiritually safe and beyond the possibility of a downfall. This we know is the state of the beginning of the Brahmanda Mandal. Here again, Master's power supports us and does not allow us to delude ourselves to think that I am God or Aham Brahmasmi. Master enables us to move on further, and we advance to the sixth plane. The merging into the sixth plane is called the annihilation of self, lower, in the beloved. Now the pilgrim sees different things of this world. This is the stage of starting a Prapannagati, where there is a continual perception and enjoyment of God that does not suffer a break even for an instant. Yet the demolition is not complete. Master enables us to move on further into the seventh stage of annihilation and helps us demolish our individuality in the Master. And here we become Prapanna Prabhu, and henceforth there is no demolition of structures, but progress by way of mergence in the Divine becomes refined, and there is no end to such refinement. Pranams.
Because when the asmita or individuality goes, you can think that the beach that does happen, because the moment you move away from God, instantly individuality appears. So almost the avidya or the forgetting God, the moment you forget God, simultaneously ego is there. And when the ego is gone, your beach that does happen, you can think. So by repeated practice, we get the experience of void, dark void we feel many times. And as those experiences get accumulated in our mind, they can get rid of so many of the defects which he has pointed out, the 60 defects he has said. They'll be just, they cannot stay in the presence of the Divine is awakened in the heart. Those things cannot stay there. They will just disappear. So we'll meet next time then.